Hey, what's up guys? My name is Chris and this is More Than Sawdust. You know, on this channel, we do a lot of content around craft shows and farmers markets or vendor shows. And the reason for that is simple. We get a lot of questions about it. So why not answer them through video, right? And that could be about products or crafts for the shows or tips and tricks, just whatever comes up. And we're doing that today. We've got a small build for you. Pretty simple to make, but it's going to help answer one of the questions we get the most. So let's go. So literally 15 minutes before I started filming this video, I was catching up on some comments on previous videos, and I came across a similar question that we get all the time, not just in comments or from emails, but also at craft shows when we're there. People want to start thinking about doing craft shows, but they have no clue where to start and they have no clue what maybe works well or sell in an area. And so I thought it's a great opportunity to make an impromptu video about that very thing. So I want to start with this. You don't have to spend a ton of money, especially if you already have tools, to try to come up with something to make. Now, is it going to sell or not in your area? That's a difficult question to answer. I usually recommend people go out, maybe do some like recon type things. Go visit a few of the craft shows you may be interested in starting to participate in. See what's selling, see what other people have in their booths. If there's any other woodworking booths, just strike up a conversation and ask them. Ask them about their products, ask them what sells well, ask them if they do well with certain things, if it's certain times of the year they do well them, and all those kind of things. I find that most woodworkers are usually pretty open to sharing tips and tricks and things they've learned in their experiences. And so that's a good way to start off and go about it. But let's say you don't really know what you want to make. Well, today I want to show you a very simple project that almost anybody can make out of really a variety of wood that you maybe can just get your feet wet and get started on or build a little bit of confidence. So, like I said, I came out to my shop just a little bit after I answered this comment. I came out to my shop and I said, what do I have already in the shop that I can make something out of that's simple and quick and easy and really can be pretty versatile? Well, I thought I'd come over here and I've got a lot of these big blocks of cedar from when we built my brother-in-law's cabin. So we're going to use this today and we're going to make a project that you see a ton at craft shows and farmers markets. And that's a set of coasters. And we might even make a little box to put them in. The problem I have that's presented to me is it's such a big chunk of wood. Now, I've got my bandsaw. This will barely clear the bandsaw, but the truth is I have a smaller blade on it right now, and I really don't want to change it out. I've also got the table saw, which could also work. We'll have to cut from both sides on that. But I've also got the miter saw, and I think just off the top of my head, this may be the quickest, easiest way for me to get this task accomplished. Now, this is not the ideal way of doing this, I know. And even though I do have a 12-inch blade, I did have to hit this from a few different sides, each pass through, and try to get as clean as a cut as I could and keep a flat edge against the fence the best that I could, even though some of these edges aren't flat on this piece that I'm working with. So, we've got our wafers kind of cut out. Now, I ended up doing them a 1/2 inch. I started a 1/4 inch and that was just way too thin. They were already flimsy. So 1/2 inch I think will be good. Now, obviously, we've got to smooth them out and shape them up, but it gives us something a lot easier to work with than that big chunk of cedar that I was working with. And obviously, if I had something square or already milled down a little bit, then it would have been quite a bit easier to work with. But we got it done, and I did that for a reason. I wanted to show you that you could just walk out in your shop and find something. Find a piece of wood, something as weird as a leftover log from a cabin build. And as long as you got one of the basic tools, which is, in this case, a miter saw, you can get started on a project. And if you're stuck or you don't know or you're worried about trying, just get something going to get yourself motivated, to get your courage up or get yourself inspired, and just get started. So let's take these and get them cleaned up. We're going to trim off and get our shape down like we want it to some squares. And then I'm going to start sanding. And there's not much more work to do them on that. We may route the edges a little bit, but let's get all that done. All right, so I decided to go with 4x4 for my size, and that's pretty standard that we do for coasters. And I was editing this and I realized, man, these things kind of look like a stack of ham right here with the coloring on them. Then I got really hungry and started thinking about lunch and sandwiches. Anyone else? Nah, it's probably just me. All right, so when I got over my need to go eat lunch, I decided I better keep working on these things. Just doing a little sanding here. Now this would also be the time that if you had some little cracks that you wanted to fill with some epoxy or CA glue or whatever, to go ahead and do that before you sand. I did have a few little cracks, but for the sake of this video, since I'm not selling these, I just left those alone. And here we go. Instead of using a router, it's easier just to do a little touch off on the belt sander here. Gives a nice smooth even edge as long as you get your rhythm down and hold it at the same angle. It looks great. And then the corners still had a little bit of sharp point to them, so we're just going to touch that off here with a sanding block. And then I'm just going to use a little bit of isopropyl alcohol and a paper towel to just get the kind of residual dust that's on this off. And now let's talk about coating these. Now with cedar, of course, they're naturally rot resistant. So that's why it's great for using for things for outside birdhouses and stuff like that. But for coasters, you wouldn't necessarily have to put anything on them. But if you wanted to prevent water rings and graying over time, using them with, glasses and things, then some type of coating would be great. I'm just using a spray lacquer here. It's quick, easy, and provides a good little coating on it. Now you could also use a thicker polyacrylic or urethane or anything else you really wanted to help kind of protect it against the water droplets and things like that, but makes the grain pop. Colors look really good. And while that was drying, I went ahead and just cut up some of the extra that I had left over and to make a box or a housing for the coasters. So we're just sanding off that clear coat that was previously on there from before. And man, you can make this a billion different ways. You can make the holder for the coasters. Just be creative. There's unlimited ways. I just decided to go real simple here. Now we're just going to put this thing together with a little bit of wood glue, Type Bond 3. Now, if I was making these and when I do make them to sell at the shows, I'm going to use a little glue to hold it in place and then some little short brad nails just for extra security. But for the purpose of this video, we're just going to use the glue. We're going to let it dry. It actually is really solid and holds up enough. Possibly don't even need the brad nails. But we're going to let the glue do its thing and then wipe off some of the excess here. Try to get some out of the little crevices. Then we're going to spray it with our same spray lacquer. And man, I really love cedar. I really love how you get the range of orange and red and the blonde, almost white sometimes, and just sometimes you get these ombre effects from light to dark. I just think it's a cool looking wood, especially when you add a little sheen to it. We're almost done. And again, you can do this a billion different ways, but I thought I have a bunch of these little rubber feet here that I use for some of my cutting boards. And some of these little tiny small ones I never really use for the cutting boards because I use a little bit larger ones. So I thought, let's put these on the bottom of this, and that way when you set it on your end table or your coffee table, you're not rubbing your coaster holder onto the wood of your table. So got a little grip here. We're just going to show you kind of how this looks. Slide our coasters in. And you got a neat little set of 4 coasters and a holder that would look great on any end table or any shelf. Well, all right, guys, here we go. Now, this thing took less than an hour, really, to make, and that includes drying time for the clear coat and me taking that lunch break I was thinking about earlier. But I wanted to make this, guys, to just encourage you to get out in your shops, grab whatever material you may have, and come up with something neat and fun and creative. And you never know just who might want to buy it from you when you go to one of your craft shows. We'll talk to you again next time. Thanks for joining me today. Remember, you were created for a purpose. Now go out there and create with purpose. Take care.